There we go. Could it be? Are we online? Can y'all hear me? Um, Welcome to another Tuesday night, folks. It's the first day of summer, and it's, I believe, the longest day of the year, and it could be one of the hottest that we've had so far. I've got delicious mystery beverage inside my cooler here, and got lots of fun things to share. So let's go ahead and get started. Before we launch into the slides, and I really don't have that many pictures tonight, but I did bring some show and tell things that are kind of relevant for where we're at in the nature calendar. One, this was a gift that I got from a friend a few weeks ago. It's the key to saving the bees in a cute little box. What it is it's zinnias seeds. And you know, how many times, how many weeks, how many years have I been saying plant natives, plant natives, plant natives? And please do. Find out what works in your yard and get those natives in the ground. There's nothing better than having native plants and native animals that have co-evolved together, growing and benefiting the environment. But while you're waiting, I know I've got some tiny little world milkweed. I've got some ironweed that was flattened, chewed down by the rabbits a couple of times. It's coming back again. It's a tough plant. I say ironweed, I meant lead plant. I cannot keep those two plants straight. But zinnias, so they're an annual. I remember growing zinnias in, I don't know if it was fourth grade. It was some class in grade school where we were learning about plants. And we started them, and then we made bouquets for some local group, maybe a nursing home or something. Anyway, zinnias, super easy to grow, and pollinators love them. And even groups like the Xerxes Society that promotes pollinators worldwide recommend zinnias for giving pollinators a boost. They produce both nectar and pollen, and butterflies and bees find them helpful. So I've actually started a few in a pot on my deck. I've got a shorter variety that I'm going to try there, and then I've got the taller seeds, taller varieties that I've spread in amongst the natives that are still growing and are going to take some time to get caught up. So anyway, if you're looking for a way to add some color to your yard now, it's getting a little late to plant seeds, but this is also a plant that you can buy annuals of in greenhouses, and it's super helpful. And wanted to make sure I mentioned it to you. It'll bring some color to your garden as well. All right, the next thing. I was out walking along the edge of a pond the other day, and I was looking at the base of the cattails, and I found a few little clues as to what is living in that pond. I'm going to hold this up so you can see it. Bring it up to the camera here, and I'm going to turn it over so you can see. So this would be the dorsal side, or the side that would be the back. Can you see what it is? It's the cast skin, the exuvia of a dragonfly. Now I'm not 100% on what the species is, so I'm not going to use a large one. So maybe a green darner, but you can see like the wing pads starting. That's so the wings, just like in a butterfly, when it pupates and it comes out of its chrysalis, its wings they've been origamied and packed inside, and they need to fill with fluid and spread out. It's the same with a dragonfly. The wings are contained in those little pads on the back, and they open up. Is that in focus? They open up, and the wings unfurl, straighten out, and the dragonfly flies away. So I found two different species I'm going by the shape. So this one has a narrower shape to it, and this one has a curved shape that comes to a point on the end. So a couple different species. It's really fun, even if and maybe you do want to try and key it out to species. If you do, good for you. I just think it's really cool that these things, they pop open down the back, and a brand new adult insect crawls out. Now, those adult insects, like we talked about before, that's actually the smaller or the shortest part of the insect life cycle. With dragonflies, they can spend 1 year, 2 years. I've heard as many as 4 years, depending on temperature and climate and things like that in the water. And then they come out, and because they do feed as adults, they last a little bit longer. They're not like mayflies where they just mate and die. They will feed, and they can last even a few months. The later emerging dragonflies, some species will even migrate a short distance south. So there's that too. So keep an eye out on emergent vegetation in ponds and slow-moving streams, and see if you can find yourself some dragonflies that have shed their skins. Let's see. I had something else too. Oh yeah. I brought my bat detector. If we could order a bat weather, it would be this. There is a little bit of a breeze, so I suppose to be absolutely perfect, the wind would be calm. But thank goodness there's a little breeze, or I would just be a little puddle sitting here. But when it's good insect weather, then it's good bat weather. And this is pretty perfect. I would say it's still in the 80s. It's humid. You can hear the birds are active, so the bugs are active. The bats could very well be active too. We'll turn this on a little bit later. It's a little bit soon for them, but what this does, this is something, and I know there's been advances in technology. In fact, I was just texting with a friend the other night about I think it's called the Echo Meter. It's a device that you can attach. They have both iPhone and Android versions, and it will take the bat, the echolocation sounds that the bat makes, which are at an ultra high frequency that our ears can't hear. It takes it down to a level where we can hear it, and then the echo meter will also put out identifications too. Now, my friend is out in Arizona, and she's got all kinds of bats to pick from. Around here, generally speaking, and if we're in an urbanish area like here at Potawatomi, if we're downtown St. Charles, we'd probably be listening to the big brown bats. If I was out at Hickory Knolls, what we tend to see out there are the red bats. The difference between the two, both bats, both native Illinois mammals, the big brown bat is what we call a colonial species, which means it hangs out in groups. The females form maternity colonies, and the males have bachelor colonies. The red bats are part of the solitary bat group. They hang out in woods, and they will be in the trees. They do not hang out in groups. So they're not the sort of bat that would be attracted to a bat house the way our big brown bats. Sometimes we'll have little brown bats in this area. Those are, I believe, a species of conservation concern here in Illinois. We don't have as many little brown bats as we do big brown bats. But anyway, this ancient tool from 20 years ago, I'm going to turn it on after a while and see if it can detect the sound of the bats. Won't give us an ID, but it'll take the echolocation sounds that they're making as they're flying around looking for bugs, and it'll take it down to a range that our human ears can hear. So hopefully I don't forget. All right, so another thing I wanted to mention, I did hear back from the arborist. Last week we were talking about the bur oak tree out in front of Good Natured World Headquarters that was being treated for the spongy, formerly known as gypsy moth caterpillars. The arborist did say it was the worst infestation that he'd seen in over a decade. So I don't know if we get points for that. Probably not a good thing, but he did treat it, and it was not the bacterial spray that affects caterpillars in that stage of development. It actually was a contact insecticide. He mixed 6 ounces of permethrin and 2 ounces of imidacloprid in 50 gallons of water, and he drenched the tree, sprayed the tree with that. I don't know how I feel about that because I know some of those are kind of toxic. We did clean up all the caterpillars that fell down, so hopefully there wasn't much transfer through the food chain, but I am going to keep an eye on things. We haven't seen that the chipmunks are still acting fine. There's still birds singing in the tree there. Haven't found any dead ones, so hopefully there's not a lot of birds that eat the fuzzy caterpillars, which the gypsy moths are, so hopefully we got rid of the problematic species without harming the beneficial ones. Okay, with that, let's go to so let's look at some pictures. I've got some pictures that actually date back to our King County Certified Naturalist field trip, which was last week. And we were at the Dick Young Forest Preserve, Nelson Lake Marsh, but we weren't at the marsh. We were at, let's see, where do I want to go? We were at the, up on the prairie end of things. All right, I'm going to see if I picked the right screen to share here. Yes. All right. So we were walking along, and the prairie is just starting to bloom. We're starting to see blooms on the prairie. We aren't seeing the tall forbs, the tall grasses of the tall grass prairie have not reached their maximum height yet. That's going to take another month or so. The tall forbs, the flowers like the compass plant, the prairie dock, those aren't blooming yet. But things like beard's tongue, foxglove, digitalis, those flowers were going bonkers. The penstemon. There was a lot of spiderwort that was in bloom. Spiderwort is pretty cool on a hot day like this. Those purplish blooms are closed up, but now as it cools off, they open up again. That's a great adaptation to living in the prairie. Just heat of the day, that helps conserve moisture and bloom time, and then they open up when the conditions are less harsh. Well, you might notice that this picture is none of those things. So what we encountered, and now the prairie portion, this is off of local people, this is off of Main Street, Batavia. It's the north side of the preserve. There's still a lot of signs, even though there's been a lot of restoration there's a lot of signs of human disturbance. There's orchard grass, there's timothy, all the forage grasses that are planted and used as hay are still quite prevalent in certain parts, especially along the trails. And then there's a plant called bindweed, and bindweed you might be familiar with. It's in the morning glory family, and it binds around plants. So a lot of people pull it out. I pull it out a lot of times, but I do like to let some go because it provides food for this little creature here. Now let's zoom in. Oops, nope, I'm giving away the end of the story. Where's my zoom? Oh, you know what? I can't get to it because of the way Zoom has, let's see. There we go. All right, let's see if I can move this. Okay, let's zoom in. So this little critter here, it's very young at this point. And you can see it's got some icky black stuff here on its side. This icky black stuff, it's a combination of frass, which is another name for insect poop, and whatever skin or shells that it has molted. This is a beetle that collects these things, and it puts them up on top of its head. In fact, here I've got another picture from a different year. Here are some bindweed tortoise beetles that have, there's actually, I think, 3 different tortoise beetles that lay their eggs on bindweed, at least 3. What these things do is they collect all this obnoxious, what a lot of insects consider waste, the poop and the skin, and they wear it on their bodies as a means of protection. It helps keep, they look distasteful, it keeps the predators away. If you look at their bodies, they're soft and juicy, and they might be quite delicious, but when they're wearing poop, nothing wants to touch them. Now, one of the species that feeds on bindweed in this area is called the Argus tortoise beetle. And if we go back, let me find you guys here. I gotta shrink this down. The Argus beetle, it actually looks sort of like a ladybug, but if we break it down, we see it's not. It's got the wing covers here, and it's got what is called a pronotum, which covers the thorax and the head, and there's pattern on that too. Ladybugs, they don't usually have a reddish pronotum. They don't have spots on it, and they aren't as big as this one. Now this was long before I carried lip balm. Probably goes back to 2012 or so, but this is one of the beetles that has larvae that feed on bindweed. So we proceeded along with our field trip, and what did we come across but thistles? And lo and behold, there's another kind of tortoise beetle that feeds on thistle. These were a little bit farther along. Let's see if we can zoom in here and take a look. So these larvae, they actually have a couple of, their whole body is kind of little points. Oops, I think somebody needs to check their mute. There's 2 prongs on the back of the body that help collect all this material, and then they walk around, they carry it, and look distasteful and survive. And they help control these species that we might otherwise, these plant species that might otherwise grow, well, they do grow out of control, but at least we've got some biological controls that are helping us keep them in check. Now, I did have a couple other photos here. So this is what the Thistle tortoise beetle looks like. Again, don't really see the head. The head is underneath. Here the antennae are sticking out, but the head is underneath the pronotum. This one blends in really well with the host plant, the thistle. And then there's another one here that this is, I believe, a far side. Oh, where did that come from? I have no idea how that one popped up, but who doesn't love a good far side, right? Oh, but it took the place of the golden tortoise beetle that I had pulled up. Hold on, folks. Let me see if I can find that picture in another folder here. Golden. I wouldn't waste your time like this, but this is just a super cool insect. Here it is. So,
Pam, I think you're sharing the wrong.
Say what?
I think you're sharing the wrong thing. Like we're.
Uh-oh. Can you guys not see a tortoise beetle?
Yep, we can.
We can,
On the far side.
but not the far side. So
You're still. You know what? There's a motorboat going by. Let me lean in and turn up the volume. Okay. So what are you seeing?
we see the beetle with the poop on his head.
Oh. So you're not seeing the golden tortoise beetle. Okay. How do I make that happen? It says I'm screen sharing. All right. Well, you know what? We'll just go back to the larvae with the poop on its head, and This can be homework. You guys can look up photos of golden tortoise beetles because they're super cool. They do not always look like drops of gold, though. When you see one, they look like liquid gold when they are not frightened. When they do so what you're seeing is an optical illusion. Their wing covers are clear and they're holding fluid, and the way the light hits the fluid underneath those clear wing covers, they look golden. They look like shining gold. But if you scare them, that fluid goes away, and you see just sort of this dull, kind of reddish, colored, not at all impressive looking beetle. So, good-natured homework. Check out golden tortoise beetles online. There's lots of information on them because they are so very attractive, and they're helpful too. All right. Tonight is insect weather. Last night was insect weather. I headed out onto my deck to see what was coming to the porch light. And what do I see here but this cool little moth? I saw it the same time last year. In fact, we got photo bombed. I don't know what this was that flew in, because it flew away again just as quickly. But if you want to have some good-natured fun on a hot, steamy night, put a light on, turn the lights off inside, so when you come out and go back in, you're not letting a whole bunch of bugs in with you. But turn a light on, see what comes to it. I remember finding this last year and looking it up. I talked to the intern, I can't remember his name, over at Creek Bend last year, who's a moth guy. And I showed him the picture, and I go, well, what do you think this is? And he goes, it's an orange wing. And I said, yeah, I know, but what is it? And he said, yeah, it's an orange wing. It's an orange wing moth. There's the Latin name, Melilla xanthomatata. And it's a tiny little moth. We'll zoom in so you can appreciate the feathery antennae, and which I suspect tells us that that's a male. And then this beautiful orange underneath. Now this is not an underwing moth. This moth was maybe the size of a dime, maybe slightly larger than that, whereas underwing moths, which are famous for having a brightly colored underwing, and we'll probably be talking about those later on in the summertime. It's not quite time for underwing moths yet, but these little orange wings are just so delightful, and they tend to rest showing that orange wing. Now, I don't know if that was because I was bothering it. Oftentimes when there's coloration like this hidden underneath some rather bland forewings, when they flare that, a lot of times they're trying to scare away what they perceive as a threat. So maybe this was the moth just trying to get me to go away, but he did pose quite nicely, showing those orange wings, and they're tiny but really, really attractive. And if you take a picture of them, then you can throw them on your computer and zoom in and really appreciate all they have to offer. Now, let's see, let's go on. So, on the other end of the spectrum, I had two actually of these moths looking rather plain. They were on the window, and these were larger. So this moth, boy, I really failed you guys with the chapstick. I could have had it out. These guys are, I would say, about an inch from the tip of the nose to the tip of the little mothy bottom right there. Isabella tiger moth. You might be familiar with tiger moths. You might be familiar with Isabella tiger moths. I can guarantee you, though, that you are quite well acquainted with the larva or the caterpillar of this moth. This is what woolly bear caterpillars turn into. So the little caterpillar that everybody recognizes, it has festivals where they celebrate it in different parts of the country. This is what it turns into. So that's a moth. Yeah, they're fuzzy, they're brown and black. Some folks say you can tell what kind of winter we're going to have by going by how much black, how big the black band is on these caterpillars. Well, they overwinter in that caterpillar stage. They find leaf litter or other means of cover. Their bodies can get quite cold without suffering damaging effects from getting frozen. They come out, they eat a little bit more, and then they pupate. They form a cocoon, and after a couple of weeks, they pop out, and here we are, the Isabella tiger moth. So check your porch lights for them too. They're flying right now as well. Now this little critter, it's a soldier beetle, and there's a lot of different kinds of soldier beetles. Soldier beetles are a group of beetles. They can defend themselves with a toxic chemical. They also are predators that feed on other insects. Well, this one caught my eye because the way it was moving, you notice I didn't make a video. I'm starting to learn videos and the internet connection here are not super compatible. So I just took some still shots, but it was kind of revving its body. You know how wasps are sometimes kind of jittery. Well, this guy landed on the edge of the bird bath, and let's zoom in here, and we can see these beaded antennae here, and the wings folded over the back. A lot of times when we think of beetles, we think of them having a hard shell covering their whole body, but there are a lot of beetles where the soft body will protrude from underneath where the wings are, and this happens to be one of them. Not a very large beetle, I would say. This again, I didn't have chapstick with me. I would say it was 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch. But what caught my eye was the stark contrast in colors here. These yellowish orange markings on the wings. Soldier beetles are actually named for their markings because they look like they're wearing a uniform. The markings look like epaulets or the type of weird uniforms that soldiers wear. So where this bird bath is, you can see there's a lot of smaller insects that are drawn to it. It's also just maybe 15 feet or so from the compost bin. So I would imagine this soldier beetle was drawn there maybe to get a little drink of water, but then also to have a snack or two. So cool little insect that I've heard of soldier beetles. We see a lot of soldier beetles once the goldenrod is blooming. There's one that actually looks almost like the reverse of a lightning bug. Lightning bugs have a dark coloring to them with a little bit of orange, and there's soldier beetles that are mostly orange with a little bit of dark on them. We'll see those a little bit later on as the goldenrod pops out. But anyway, soldier beetles are out doing their thing, eating other insects. Now, I think that was it for this album. So we're going to close this out. Gosh, if you guys couldn't see what I was showing you before, I wonder if you can't see. Okay, can somebody tell me, can you see a robin right now? Or are you still looking at the soldier beetle?
The soldier beetle.
Ah, got it. All right, so how do I get this so that it shares? So what I'm trying to do is share with you pictures from my the photos on my computer. Let's see. If I stop this share, come back here. I'll try it one more time. I'm going to pull up the photo. Let's get rid of this other stuff here, and that. I wonder.
Hey Pam, when you share, try sharing like your desktop instead of just
Share.
the tab. Try
Ah,
sharing your
okay.
desktop.
All right, let's see. Let's go back to where you guys are. Okay, so when I hit the share, then I share. Do you see a green beetle now?
Yes.
Aha! All right, so that's the Thistle tortoise beetle. And here's the golden tortoise beetle. So it looks like a drop of gold on a leaf. Okay, we're on to something here. So let me, I wanted to show you. So this is a robin in a, built quite an elaborate nest in a,
Pam, I'm
yes,
sorry. We still see the green guy.
got it. All right, so maybe I need to pick another. You know what? I guess I need to stop the share of the green guy. So you didn't see the golden tortoise beetle either?
No, just the
All
green
right.
guy.
I guess I have to do these individually then. Let's share. All right. There's the golden tortoise beetle. Stunning, isn't it? It's all an optical illusion the way the light filters through the clear wing covers. Look for these guys. The larvae are feeding now. They will probably pupate. I would say in July, towards the end of July, we'll start seeing the adults. Really cool. All right, so I'll stop this share. All right, now I'm going to try and show you a picture of a robin. So this is in not terribly unusual, except for this was in the plant selection at the Jewel grocery store in Huntley. And Huntley is one of the communities that I visit doing our senior outreach. I go to a retirement community up there called Huntley Springs. And a woman in the program last week said, hey, you know, I was shopping the other day. We were talking about red-winged blackbirds, and she said that she had seen this nest, and she would go and try and take some pictures of it for me. She was wondering if maybe there was a red-wing nesting in the Jewel, but it wasn't. It's a robin. And just a little reminder to you guys, if you're buying plants, sometimes you end up getting a little bonus. So looks like those have been set aside. I was glad to see that the Jewel people were actually letting the robin do her thing, that they didn't try to shoo her away or anything like that. All right. All right, I'm going to share. So I got an email from a woman asking for some identification of an insect, and she described it as something really cool, and it is really cool, but it's also a little troubling. So this is for those of you who garden. All right, so I'm gonna share Outlook. All right, now I'm suddenly less confident this is gonna work. Can you guys see a cool looking bug?
No, we see your email.
Of course you do. I'm trying to show you an email. All right, let's see. Let me go back. Let's stop this share so all that sensitive information isn't getting broadcast across the airwaves here. All right, let me try this one more time. What I'm trying to show you is an insect that why don't I see it on here? Oh, okay. All right, can you see a bug? A cool looking bug?
Yes.
All right, so does anybody recognize this bug? In fact, if we go up to the top of the email, she first saw it nectaring on her sedums. So here it is. She took a neat picture showing its bottom, which kind of shows us a little bit about its taxonomy. It's got a fuzzy, fluffy looking butt here. That is the sign that it is related to the clearwing moths. You know, we've got the hummingbird moth and the bumblebee clearwing. They all have those fuzzy bottoms. This moth belongs to that group as well, but it's not quite as cool because if we go back to this bottom photo, it's a little hard to see in this enlarged format, but this is a squash leaf, and this is a squash vine borer. Now, at this stage, it's relatively harmless. It doesn't feed on leaves or stems. At this point, it's here to have some nectar, maybe do some incidental pollination as it's feeding, but its main purpose is to mate and lay eggs on your squash plants, and then those larvae, those caterpillars, will bore in and feed on the stems of your squash. So if you see something like this in your growing squash, I hate to say this, but you probably want to do something about it so that it doesn't ruin your crop. But it is a really cool looking insect. There's nothing toxic about them. They've got the bright red coloration, but they do get fed upon by birds, so there is some natural checks going on there. But these guys are flying right now, and if you're growing squash, which I just actually planted some seeds a few weeks ago, my squash plants are pretty small yet, but I'm gonna keep my eye out for these guys as well. The squash vine borer. Okay, so we're gonna end this share, and I'm gonna share with you another email. I've got the text of it here. This is from one of our King County Certified Naturalist Program participants. And he says, I'm wondering if you can identify these. I saw them and many others at Cantigny Park in Wheaton. I realize it's not Kane County, but it's close. Okay, you ready? I'm going to share the screen, and we're going to pull up these guys. Have you heard about this exhibit? This is a Mexican art exhibit that's over at Cantigny throughout the summer. It's it's called the, probably gonna mess up the Alebrijes, creatures of a dream world. Creatures of a dream world. This is these were inspired by an artist's feverish dreams. There's several artists that help create this one artist's feverish dream creatures, but they're paper mache on metal frames. They will coat them throughout the summer with water repellent material so that they don't turn to mush, but they're really cool looking. And I thought it was funny, we had just gone over during the KCCN field trip about if you see anything interesting, be sure you let us know. You know, when you're out visiting local parks, let us know, and especially if you have trouble identifying them. So these are, you heard it here first, these are creatures of the dream world over at Cantigny. Oh, that's the fellow that sent them. All right, let's stop that share. Let's see, I know I had one other. Oh, so endangered species. We have quite a number of them, and an endangered species, it can be an animal, it could also be a plant. But the state has an endangered species board that wants to know how these animals are doing and these plants are doing throughout the state, and they can't have personnel assigned to every single species. So they have a web page, a form that you can fill out if you have an endangered species sighting. So a few weeks ago, I had been talking with the osprey expert at Illinois Audubon down in, well, actually, he's down near Braidwood, but he took the location of the osprey nest on a cell tower over in West Chicago, and he sent it down to the endangered species specialist at IDNR, and she shared with me the web address and the form that she requested people fill out should they make an endangered species sighting. So I know black-crowned night herons are also listed here in Illinois, and I frequently see them when I'm around the Batavia area. This humble request to fill this form out, I wanted to share with you. I'm going to try again. I'm going to share the screen. Let me see if I can find it here. So, and if any of you would like me to email you the link, I can do that too. All right, where do I want to go? So many windows. All right, let's try. Nope, that's not it. Well, tell you what, it's not that exciting to look at. It's just a form. But if you would like the link to that, because who knows when you might run into something that's endangered, you can actually look up, if you pop into your search engine, Illinois Endangered Species List 2020. It's something that's updated every few years. 2020 is the most recent one. You can become familiar with things that are endangered in the area. And then if you see one, you can fill out the form and help our state keep track of these species that they are trying so hard to conserve. All right. I had another email, and I'm not going to read you the whole thing, but it was something that might be relevant to you or someone you know. This was a question from another King County certified naturalist participant from several years ago, Mary Alice. Some of you might know her. She has, this is kind of one of these friend of a friend sorts of things. The person lives in Villa Park, and they have a garter snake living under their porch, deck, house, something like that. And once again, I'm reading about somebody who's living my dream, but they're not happy about it. They want the snake to go away. They want it to be, moved somewhere. So Mary Alice's friend, neighbor, was going to go and get the snake and then, let it go where there's other garter snakes. And there's a couple of problems with that approach. One, couple of years ago, Illinois enacted a very strict set of conservation laws called the Illinois Herp Code. It covers reptiles and amphibians, and it really says you can't do anything without a permit. You can't move animals around. You can't take animals and keep them in captivity without a permit. It's a conservation law, so it's hard to enforce, but I've been really trying to spread the word around that these animals aren't just something you can pick up and move around and put down somewhere else. Snakes especially, they get used to their home range. They navigate quite a bit by smell, and they know where they can go to be safe. They know where they can go to find food. They know where they can go to find water. When you remove them from that environment and you drop them down somewhere else, they don't have a clue. They don't know where the food is. They don't know where the water is. They don't know where the safe spot under the deck or the shed or the porch is. So estimates, I haven't found a study that specifically addresses garter snakes, but articles talking about relocating herps in general, or snakes in general, said that the survival rate is below 50%. These animals, they're dropped down in a place that they don't know very well. It's not unlike other animals like birds or especially mammals that have definite territories that they defend. That would be another layer of concern and another reason why relocation for those animals doesn't work unless it's done by a professional. That's done, usually they're moving animals around that are wildlife biologists are moving animals around that are not very common. So if they're introducing something to an area, it's because there's not individuals of that species already there. So anyway, that email, I just wanted to put it out there to you guys. If you know of somebody who's trying to move snakes around, try to discourage it, because one, it's not good for the snake, and two, it's against the conservation laws governing the snakes of Illinois. All right, so the sun is going down. There's still still hearing a red-winged blackbird over here. Still hearing the river traffic. So it's and it is about the longest day of the year. So this might not have been the best program to try this on. I'm going to try and put our bat detector on. So again, this is what it looks like. This was I think of it as kind of a limited edition unit. It was made by a gentleman who works over at Fermilab. His wife, years ago, this was back when I worked at Red Oak, his wife was really into bats, and so he bought her a bat detector. And as an engineer, and I can say this because my brother's an engineer, when they buy something, the first thing they do is they look at it and say, I can make it better. And that's what Todd did. He created, it looks sort of like an old transistor radio. It's called the Listen Up bat detector. Super, real easy to operate. You just flip it on. And so I'm going to hold it by my microphone. Right now we're not hearing any bat sounds, but what it will do is it will listen up, and when it detects the sounds of bats, then you hear it's really chirping sounds. And so keep in mind it's a bat. I'm going to turn this off because it's annoying. But so a bat is sending out sounds, and then those sounds, which are at an ultra high frequency, are bouncing off of objects and coming back to the bat's ears. And the bat can then tell, oh, that's a leaf. Oh, that's a branch. Oh, that's hair. I'm going to stay away from that. That's a building. That's a no, that's a bug. And they will start to echolocate. They'll send those sounds out faster and faster, and the sound, as it gets closer to the insect, that sound is going to bounce back faster and faster. It ends, when you're listening to this on the bat detector, it ends in what's called a feeding buzz, where it's going so quickly you can't discern the individual chirps or noises that the bat is making. So you'll hear chirp, 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 and then, and you know, a bug just got eaten. We might try a good-natured from the porch of the world headquarters on that, because there are a lot of bats that are in downtown St. Charles, and there's a lot of bats that fly right next to the building. They go back and forth. There's some lighting on the building that attracts a lot of insects. We've got the river here that's putting out a lot of insects, a lot of caddisflies right now. And so there's a lot of bat activity over there. So I'll just put this on. I'll keep it over here away from my microphone, and if I hear anything, I'll quick pick it up. Right now, guys, I'm going to turn it over to you. Does anybody have any questions, any reports from the field, cool things you've seen over this past week that you'd like to share with the group? Looks like got a couple of chats here. Meredith, have been over to the Cantigny exhibit. Chris, sounds like you've been there. So it's if you get a chance to go over to Cantigny, it definitely sounds like it's on the scale of what we travel over to the Morton Arboretum to see, and it looks really colorful. Be a nice way to spend an afternoon. Anybody else? If not, I may turn this off for right now, but go out and do some bat detecting. And if I have any luck, I can talk about that when we get together next week. All right, everybody. If you're inside and you've got air conditioning, good for you. If you're outside enjoying this weather, good for you. I'm going to go have a little bit more of my delicious, cool beverage, and I'll look forward to seeing you again next week. Right. Take care, everybody. So long.
Thank you, Pam.
Bye.
Thanks, Pam.
Thank you, Pam.
Thank you, Pam.
Thanks, Pam.
Thanks, Pam. Have a good night.